Frauders, my name is Brett Widner, and I'm lucky to be the CFO of our great fraternity. In this video, I'm going to give some tips and suggestions on budgeting. Let's start with chapter budgeting basics. The first place I recommend is the fee structure and finance page on teak.org. There are a lot of great things here, and it's a resource for our Chrysos and other people interested in finance, and other officers as well. Here we tackle things like fees, financial stability, frequently asked questions, and we have videos and other things like where the money goes that comes into Teak headquarters. It's a great educational tool, and there's also some great things you can use in there. There's a sample budget that you can use to plug in the numbers of your chapter, and it will help spit out some information that can be useful for you as you form your budget. You can also use this as a budget document. We all understand that some chapters have very complex and layered budgets, while others operate without houses or other obligations. Given today's uncertain times, there are a lot of things to consider when developing or modifying your budget. You need to be mindful of dues and other line items in the budget. Considerations include housing, recruitment, social events, and other variable costs. I'm sure those with housing have already worked with your board and other people to plan for this current school year. You may have had to have been creative with pricing to get chapter brothers into the house to get the house as full as possible. This is an excellent opportunity to evaluate what opportunities you can find to support your brothers. What incentives can you offer to get more members to live in the house? Are chapter dues more for those who don't live in the house? I know when I was in school, that was the case. Chapter dues were a little bit higher for those that didn't live in the house. For recruitment, what things can you do to provide value using less dollars with recruitment? Recruitment is different across the campus this year, and it isn't about spending the most money. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to be successful. Our competitors are in a very similar position, and the winners will be those chapters that spend the most time planning and adjusting to the way things are going on. Every school is going to have different rules and restrictions. You need to make sure to use the dollars to get the most out of what you're spending. Please reach out to your regional contacts or myself for any other questions that you have or tips or strategies needed for recruitment and spending. Social events may also need to be evaluated. What areas can you spend less dollars on and still be impactful and have fun safely? There isn't one answer that applies to all of our chapters, but you have to look at all options and see where your chapter can spend less while still growing. How do you deal with the fact that some members aren't able to pay dues? Plan now. Do you have reserves from last year where funds were not spent? Creating a fund to help frauders would be a viable use for those dollars to maintain your strength and your numbers. For those without reserves, what adjustments can be made for those who may only be able to afford the necessities? Could we forego rush shirts and formal dues for these men and still keep them active and contributing? Having a plan to review requests and proposals is something you can work on now. Let's talk now about communication. This is something the entire team at headquarters, but especially my finance team, is big on. I encourage you to communicate with the men and let them know the financial situation and how important their dues are to the success of the chapter. It's very possible less students return to school and less students return to the chapter this year, and some tough decisions have been made or need to be made. You need to think differently than in years past and adapt to this environment. You also need to open with communication around this. Use a chunk of time during a chapter meeting to go through the chapter budget and any changes from the prior year. Ensure the chapter men know the importance of collecting their money and where it goes. How do you provide value for the member dues that you're collecting? What payment plans have you implemented in the past? Have those actually worked? Do you break up or layer payments throughout the year? Is there a discount for paying in full at the beginning of the year so you can go ahead and get that cash there to help with your cash flow? Are there other non-financial privileges to offer for those who pay on time? This route will help not punish those who are in different financial situations than in prior years, while still rewarding those who pay on time. At headquarters, we offer a financial benefit to paying the AMFs and the risk management fees on time, mainly because we need the money to help service our chapters, fund our programs, and support alumni and our volunteers. Please reach out and let me know if you have questions about the AMF and RMF discounts. How do you hold members accountable then if they don't pay? It's also vital to meet your set financial obligations, which include things like teak dues, chapter dues, housing costs, etc. Most other items are variable and all deserve a deeper dive. Critical thinking is needed to help determine what decisions need to be made. Do you spend as much on social, formal, recruitment? How can you still provide value and impact your members with a little bit less money. I can assure you that your chapter isn't the only one going through these issues on your campus or in Teak Nation. The success is going to go to those chapters who adapt quickly and effectively and use this as an opportunity to grow the chapter and support your members. The bottom line, though, is confident decisions need to be made in this role. You and other officers were chosen as the leaders, and you need to step up in this uncharted time. Short-term decisions, while may not be popular, are likely vital for the long-term sustainability of the chapter, while still being compassionate and empathetic in the current situation. The finance team and all of Teak Nation here at headquarters is here to help. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. We believe in you. Thank you, and I love the fraternity.